morning. Welcome to my garden and of course my YouTube channel, Eldon Acres. I am so glad that you're here with us this morning. We've just picked some jalapeno peppers. I have some more in my harvest apron here. We are going to try and make some spicy dill pickles today. So I've got cucumbers coming out of the garden right now, jalapenos coming out of the garden, lots of good stuff coming out of the garden, but I figured we'd try and do a small batch of spicy dill pickles. I've already picked the cucumbers, so they are in the kitchen already, but we needed our jalapenos, so now we have those. We're doing a small batch, so I'm going to try doing it a little bit differently. I've never done this before, but I've done lots of research and it seems like it's going to work out really well for what we need to do. So we're going to try canning the pickles in my Instant Pot. Technically, I suppose it's steam canning, but come on with me. We'll hopefully learn something new together, and I'm hopeful that it's going to work out because it'll make my life a lot easier. Cucumbers, they're great, but they never all come on at once, you know? So for the next couple weeks, we'll just have, you know, handfuls of cucumbers coming out of the garden, and I like to can them as fresh as possible. So we're going to try that today, and fingers crossed that it works out, and we'll continue on doing that. Come on with me, we'll head back to the kitchen. Thought it might be nice to have some fresh dill in the pickles, especially because we've got so much dill flower in the garden right now. It's absolutely beautiful. Now I probably have too much here, but whatever extra I have, I'll just stick in my kitchen flower arrangement. It works perfectly. Okay, so in this pot we've got our 4 cups of boiling water. We're going to add our vinegar and pickling salt to that now. So the recipe that I'm using is out of the Canning Kitchen. I really like this one because it's for small batch canning, which is oftentimes what I end up doing. And the recipe is on page 105. So I'll link this book for you, but that's just what I'm following for directions today. In this little pot of water, I'm just going to put it on for a boil, and I'm going to add my sealers. I like to do that. It just softens the ring up and helps ensure that you get a good seal. I don't think it's necessary, but that's just how I was taught, so that's what I do. So I'm going to throw those in there now. We'll just bring it up to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I just turn it off. I might not even let it go to a complete boil. All right, so we are going to add our 2 3/4 cups of pickling vinegar. Now the recipe requires that this be at least 7% acetic acid vinegar. So that's what we're doing here. So we'll get that added in there. I apologize if you can hear my cat in the background. He thinks that he needs to be involved. We are going to add our 3rd cup of pickling salt. So I don't know if you can see here, there's a couple bubbles just starting to happen. So I'm just going to switch that off, leave it on the element there. So we'll add our pickling salt here. And then to my dill pickles, this isn't required. Usually you add this to sweet pickles, but I do like to add a little bit of pickling spice. Now, usually I add about a tablespoon, but I don't know if you can see in there. Oh, sorry. There we go. There's not much left, so I'm just going to dump that entire thing in there. Make sure I have it all in there. I'm ready to give it a stir. And we want to make sure that all of that pickling salt gets dissolved. We're going to bring this to a light boil. And we want the liquid to come clear. So it was cloudy, we're going to make sure that that comes clear. Okay, so I think I have everything organized that we need. I have just put my water, vinegar, pickling salt mixture on to boil. So we'll bring that up to a boil. I'll show you what we're going to do next there. But I wanted to show you as well that we've got all of our cucumbers set out here. We've got our jalapeno peppers, our onion. These two cucumbers over here, I'm only going to use if it's absolutely necessary because they're kind of a little bit funny. We've got our garlic here because I like to put garlic in my pickles, and then we've got the dill that we picked, so we'll put that in the jars as well. I've got my jars all washed and sterilized and ready to go. Oh, I do need to get my lids and seals. I better go grab those before I forget. While the brine is coming to a boil, I figured that we could get our garlic looked after. So I'm just going to cut the bottoms off of there, and then I'll peel them, and then I'm just going to leave the cloves whole. Now, anytime I'm doing most of my cooking, I always make sure that I have a garbage out and available. We have 2 dogs, so usually I keep the garbage tucked away because one of them likes to get into it sometimes. That's just a little trick. It saves running back and forth to the garbage cupboard. Now this garlic, unfortunately, is not out of my garden. I didn't plant garlic for this year, which I am regretting. However, I was able to find some local garlic just up the road from us. The other day, I was able to purchase a basket of seconds for a really good price. However, I didn't think about my upcoming pickling days, and I processed all of that garlic. I actually put it through my food processor, froze it in tablespoon-sized pucks on a cookie sheet, and then put them into freezer bags so that I have fresh garlic available for me throughout the winter. When you buy seconds, they're basically not perfect condition, so usually you can get a much better price on them. However, they won't store for a long time. So I had the chance the other day. I wanted to get them looked after so that I didn't lose any of them, which was great, but then I had to buy garlic for today, which again was fine. I was able to buy it from the same farmer just up the road, so it's still local to us, still supporting a local farmer, just not out of my garden. Now, I will not make that mistake of not planting, garlic again. We had a baby last fall, early September, so I didn't think I wanted anything else on my plate. But I'm really kicking myself now for not doing that. All right. One left. So as you can see, our pickling liquid, come to a boil. So I'm just going to turn that off, and we're just going to keep it warm. We want it to be warm when it goes in the jars. But that is ready for us when we are ready. Okay, so I'm just going to get going on slicing up the onion. It doesn't have to be perfect, it's really just for flavor. although the pickled onions are really, really tasty to eat. So it's kind of a bonus. You get your pickles and you also get pickled onions. You just want to thinly slice them. Perfect. Okay, so a little trick that I have, anytime that I do pickles, most times I should say, I pretty well always slice them into like dollars or coins, whatever you want to call them. And my lifesaver for doing that is my mandolin. So you can change the thickness if you want. You can basically customize it however. I wish it was a little bit bigger so that I could do more things with it, but it works really good for pickling cucumbers. So that's what we're going to do today and save us some time. What I might do first is put my dill in the bottom of the jar so then I can start putting my onions in there. I'm just running out of space, so that might be a good idea. So what I do with the dill is, so basically you just want to take one of the flowers, you just kind of pluck it off like this. And I just like to stuff it down in the bottom of the jar. It's mostly for decoration. It gives a little bit of flavor, but mostly just for decoration. I usually add a couple if they're small. So put a couple in each jar. Now these ones are a little bit bigger, so same thing. Look at how beautiful this is. I just love them. They're beautiful in flower arrangements too. So you just kind of stuff it down in there. Oh, it smells so good. Perfect. Now, you don't want to waste any of the dill, so try not to damage my beautiful flowers. Also, aren't these gorgeous? These are all from my garden. I picked them yesterday. Alright, so as I was saying, we don't want any of this dill to go to waste, so any of like the little dill fronds, I think you call them, these little guys, I just stuff in the jar too, because it'll all add flavor. Another little flower we'll add in. One thing I will mention, I am not the best at following recipes in general. However, you really want to make sure that you are following pickling recipes, because if you don't, you can get very sick by eating the product. So just make sure to follow a good pickling recipe. Okay, so I'm just gonna literally drop some of the onion slices in each jar, and you can layer them, but we'll see what happens. You can also cook your pickle, sorry, not your pickles, your onion slices in the brine, but this works too. our jars with our dill and our onions in them. Maybe before I do that, I should do these. And disclaimer, we had these, I made jalapeno poppers last night out of the garden, and they were so spicy. I don't know if, so I purchased my starts, my jalapeno starts, because mine died, unfortunately. And I don't know if they were mislabeled. They look like jalapeno peppers, but they're so spicy. Like, I don't have a very high spice tolerance, but my mouth was on fire and then it just went numb. It was so uncomfortable, like uncomfortably numb. Anyways, I don't know. Even my husband, who really likes spicy food, said they were hot. So it was unfortunate because I made quite a few of the poppers and I put them in the freezer, but I'm not sure if we'll eat them. I'll turn them into something. Maybe I'll turn them into a dip and like tone them down with bell peppers or something. Not sure yet. Don't want to revisit them at this point. But I have tons of them coming on in the garden, so I need to find something to do with them. I did see a recipe for cowboy candy, I think it's called, and that's basically like pickled sweet jalapenos. I've never tried them, but maybe that will be what we need to use the rest for. We'll see what happens. Let's do this. So I think I'm only going to cut up 2 because I know how spicy they are. I'm gonna leave the seeds in, but I won't add too many. I don't really want to, oh shoot. I don't want to touch them too much because that was the other thing. Yesterday my hands were so numb. Like, they even smell hot. Like, you know, sometimes things, you can smell the heat in them. Like these smell hot. Some of those seeds out of here. Okay, we're gonna leave the rest of those. I will add my garlic now too, so I don't forget them. So I'm gonna do, I think, 2 cloves per jar. 2 cloves there. 2 cloves in. Pickled garlic is also really good. And then I've got a couple small ones, so I'll just add. There we go. Okay, I think we're finally ready to do the cucumbers. So, typically what I do is I just cut the end off. My chickens will love the ends. And I know that I've already got this set. Okay, let me remember how to unlock it here. One moment. Okay, remembered how to unlock it, so here we go. So you just want to hold it. Always be careful of your fingers because this can happen really quick. And it gives perfect little cucumber. And again, you can change the thickness. This is just kind of the thickness that works for us. Is there anything better than a fresh garden cucumber? I think what I'm going to do is as I go, I'll just put my cucumbers in my jars. That'll probably be easy. So you just want to make sure, because you've got so much stuff in the bottom, you just pack them in really good. You don't want them like jammed in there super tight, but the tighter they are, the less, well, I mean, you get more pickles out of it, and then the less airspace or like bubbles that you'll get. I'm not doing a very good job of showing you. Down there. I'll add a few more to this jar, so I'll put it back over here. Also, I should mention that I already pre-washed all of the cucumbers, the jalapeno, everything. I pre-washed everything when I brought it in from the garden, so everything has been washed. You want to make sure that you do start with washed veggies. You'll notice that I rotate this back and forth. That's just to ensure that it doesn't like start to angle or anything. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I feel like it does. Top this one off. Now we want to leave, I believe it is 3/4 of an inch headspace. So what that means is just basically from how high up the vegetables and your liquid comes. So you don't want anything sticking up too high. Usually I kind of aim for, you know, this mark here. If it's a little bit more, that's okay. I do have a tool that measures it, but I don't often use it anymore. On to our next jar, our second jar. Okay, so we're just going to keep going like this until I get them all filled, and then I'll bring you back to when we put the liquid in them. Okay, so we've got everything packed into our jars. We've got our cucumbers, we've got our dill, we've got our garlic, our jalapeno peppers. So we are ready to go. I just want to show you a few things that I like to use when I'm canning. I was gifted, I guess it's like a canning gift set basically, and it's by Ball, and it came with this funnel, so this works really good. This is very, very helpful. This little guy, so it's just a little stick, and it's got a little magnet on the end, and it is for fishing out your lids. So it's magnetic, so it helps you fish out your hot lids, which I love. That saves the fingers a lot. So this is a measuring device. Now I don't know if you can see the numbers on there. Yeah, I think you can. So that is what will help measure your headspace when you're putting your liquid in there if you want a quick and easy measurement. And then this end is what you can use to stick down in your jars. I'll show you, to debubble. So you want to make sure that you debubble so that the jars are as full as possible. This handy little tool is what we will use to take our jars out of the canner when we're done. So the hot jars, you just pick them up like this. It's fabulous. Again, saves the fingers. Alrighty, so I'm going to bring it back down so you can watch this process. So I'm just going to put my little funnel there like that. You want to give the brine a stir. As you can see in there, all the little seasonings, the spices, you want to make sure that you get some in each scoop. I'm just going to slowly pour it in. Until we've reached our headspace. So that's perfect. We'll slide on over to the next one, and we'll just keep on going. Now I'm probably going to have some extra brine because I believe this recipe was for, even though it was a small batch, it was for 8 of these jars, which I'm not doing. But what you can do, and what I love to do, is I will just put the rest of the brine in a jar. I'll put it in the fridge, and then I will have more cucumbers coming out of the garden later this week. So I'll just reheat the brine and use that. So it will not go to waste, that is for sure. It smells so good. I love anything vinegar. So I love the smell of this, but. Alrighty, last one. I'm gonna take this very large pickle out and I'll put it back in once I get this filled up. So I may have filled that one up too much, but I'm gonna debubble it and we'll see what happens. So you just want to kind of put this guy down the side. You want to be careful that you don't break up the cucumbers. You just kind of want to like wiggle things around. Just kind of push it down the side, move things around. And I'm going to pour a little bit of that off because that's just a bit too much. There we go, that's better. All right, so we'll debubble again. Now sometimes what I like to do as well is use a chopstick. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but a wooden chopstick gets down in here sometimes a little bit better than this tool. Actually, I think that's what I'm going to do. See? Same idea though. Just kind of put it down the sides, move them around a little bit, make sure there's no air bubbles anywhere in there, and then so I'm just going to double check my recipe for the headspace. So 1/2 inch, which is 1 centimeter. Yeah. Oops. So I could add a little bit more to those 3. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more liquid. Just a touch, just to bring it up just a smidge. We just want to make sure that everything is covered in liquid as well. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so now we're going to wipe the rims. I'm just going to grab a clean piece of paper towel. And we just want to go around the rims of every jar. So this just ensures that you're going to get a good seal, number 1. But number 2, it will ensure that there's no kind of nicks or cracks. You can often feel them easier than you can see them. Right now I'm reusing jars, which I do most times. I have to buy jars every year, but I like to reuse them anytime I can. So when you're reusing jars, you always inspect them for chips, cracks, all of that good stuff. Sometimes you can't see it, but you can feel it. All right, so those are all clean. So the next step, we're going to add our lids. Let me move this out of the way. so you can see. There we go. Okay, so we'll move our lids. Now oftentimes they get stuck together, so you just want to pull them apart, shake them off, and just set them on. Good. Now we're going to add the rings, and you just want to put the rings on, and you're just going to tighten them kind of finger tight. So with the rings, they're going to hold your seal in place. Once you've canned them and everything has sealed, you can remove the rings and store them without the rings, and actually that's best practice, to be honest, because if a seal doesn't keep or lets go, you're not going to be able to tell with the ring on there. However, if there's no ring on there, a seal breaks, you're going to pick it up and you're going to notice before you go to use it. So that'll just avoid using any spoiled food. Okay, so I'm just going to double check my recipe here. Okay, so we're going to process for 10 minutes. So in my research, so this is for a water bath canner, which is different than what we're doing today. Today we're steam canning, and in my research it says that you do it for the exact same amount of time on the steam setting in the Instant Pot. So we're just going to head over there and set that up. Okay, so you saw when I was setting this up, we put 3 cups of water into the bottom with our trivet in the bottom there. You also, it's optional to add 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and that will just help with the sterilization process. It's optional, but I went ahead and did it just because I want to ensure that everything is properly sterilized. I did have this set up, but of course it went to sleep. So I'm just gonna turn it back on, put it to steam. It's already on there for 10 minutes. We're gonna set our jars in. This one backwards, upside down. There we go. You know what, I think that's the wrong one. Pause. I wondered, something did not steam right and I've got the wrong trivet in the bottom. This is the one that goes on the very bottom. There, it's sitting. I wondered because it was sitting right in the water and I didn't think that made sense if you were steam canning, but because it's my first time doing it, I wasn't sure. Alright, so let's get these guys in here. So those are set. We're going to put our lid on. You want to ensure that it is set to vent. So that's set to vent. And we're going to press start. And there we go. Okay, we will be back when these guys come out of the Instant Pot, or the pressure cooker, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I have some concerns. We aren't done the process in the Instant Pot yet, but I can smell pickles, like how the pickles should taste. I can smell. So I'm a little bit worried one of the jars broke. I'm not sure. Time will tell. We've got 1.5 minutes left. Okay, so far I don't see any broken jars. I'm just gonna let this release some of that steam for a moment. I'm gonna go grab my tongs and we'll get them out of there and inspect them. Ah, that's the culprit. Shoot. Darn it. Okay, so 3 out of 4. Okay, so 3 out of 4 jars. Unfortunately, one of them, the bottom, just let go. I don't really know why. I'm hopeful that it's not the canning process because I really liked this process. I would definitely do it again. We won't know until we taste these pickles, which they're supposed to sit for 1 to 2 months, so the recipe says. So number 1, I need to make sure that they seal because they need to sit, and then we'll start to hear the lids pop. And number 2, they have to taste good. So you'll have to hold tight. I will definitely update you when the time comes, but I just wanted to show you the brine that was left over. So I've just got it in a jar with one of my favorite leak-proof ball lids. You can get them, I always get them at Home Hardware and I love them. I use them all the time, but this is a prime example. So I'll just put this in the fridge until later in the week, maybe over the weekend, because today's Tuesday, when we do some more pickles. I just wanted to remind you that this was the recipe that I used, and I will link this book down below, but you can probably purchase it on Amazon. Anyways, thank you so much for being here and for watching my channel. This is my very first YouTube video. We learned some things, I think, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. I hope to see you in the next one. Again, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here and for joining me in my garden and my kitchen, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, friends.